and welcome to Council Agenda, a new show short series here on WMCT-TV. I'm Dan Ginden. Council Agenda gives ward councilors and at-large councilors an opportunity to come on the show and talk about what's going on a city level or on a ward level. And today, we have the Ward 2 City Councilor since 2004, Paul Ferro. Paul, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Good to be here.
That's good to have you here. So, budget, we can still talk about that a little bit. You know, the budget hearings and the overall budget is all set. Was this the most difficult budget process for you personally?
I think it's definitely had to rank up there because this was a very unusual budget system. This is the first budget we've ever had in my recollection that was actually a shrinkage in actual spending. I think the last time we had that was 1990 or 91. So the budget actually decreased from year to year, and the economic situation, as I'm sure everyone's aware in the country, hasn't been great, and that probably affects nothing more than tax revenues. And you know, with foreclosed homes and drops in local aid, you know, our local aid was cut mid-year this year. So we actually, this budget was a very difficult process because we had to take a lot of hard choices this year and try to lay the groundwork, I hope, for some changes we can make in how we run the city in the future.
Now, I talked to you once before for an interview for the magazine when we were talking about the budget process as a whole, and you do, as well as the other councilors have said they do, receive feedback from constituents. Was that the same thing this year? Oh,
absolutely, and you know, it's a compliment to the station that you know, the large number of people who watch budget hearings and you know, watch this council meetings and follow what's going along. It never ceases to amaze me. You know, I'm in the budget hearings and I think they're boring. So, you know, the fact that people watch them on TV when they have other things to watch is amazing, and it's a great amount of feedback. You know, the internet age has allowed folks to get the actual budget pack that we get and follow us page by page. And I've had a lot of councilors comment and had residents get feedback on, you know, even line items they think they could take a look at.
The council wants to contract out some jobs such as lawn care. What's your stance on that?
You know, my committee operations and oversight had a lengthy report done up by the DPW, specifically the Forestry and Parks Division, and I think that report shows that there are some cost savings to be made by contracting out certain services, and we need to test it out. You know, we have a prevailing wage law in the state of Massachusetts, which really has basically government-mandated wages that aren't set by the market; they're just set by government, and so that puts a little kink in any attempts to try to do things a little differently. Because no matter what we try to contract out, we often have to pay them at essentially the same rate that we pay a city worker. The benefits of contracting out is that we don't have a lot of the long-term liability costs involved with having a city employee. You don't have the health care benefits. You don't have the you know, retirement and all the other aspects that are of a city employee. I mean, we have a city employee here today. 20 years from now, we're still going to be paying something for that city employee, whether it's retirement or health care. You hire a contractor today to mow the lawn, we're not going to be paying for that contractor 20 years from now. So I think there's something we have to look at and thinking a little differently in how we provide our services. And contracting out certain things is something we have to look at in the future.
Overall, the budget, are you pleased with it?
You know, the thing I want folks to take away from this budget is, even with a reduction in spending, this is a budget that's still going to add $3.5 million to the residential tax levy, or the tax levy, I shouldn't say residential, but the tax levy for businesses and residents here in the city of Marlborough. That's going to be about $175 average tax increase. So even with a decrease in spending, you know, we're still going to see some significant changes and significant increases for a lot of residents in this tough time. And I'm always a believer that we as the council and the finance committee could have done more to lighten that burden, but you know, you need to get 3 votes in the committee, and then you need to get 6 votes on the floor. And I think any observer of the council would realize that there's a lot of great and divergent voices on the council, and that doesn't always make it easy to get 6 votes, much less 3 in committee. So I think there was a lot of budget shifting going on, and we're still spending money that we take a look at. I know the mayor has made an effort to spend a lot of money on free cash, but you know, whether we spend money for capital projects out of free cash or we spend it in the budget process, it's still money we're spending. So you know, it may not be on the actual budget process, but we're still spending that money on capital projects, and it's a little bit of a budget shift, I think. when we're spending money on capital projects that we need to look at. We're not spending less money; we're just spending it differently. And this budget, because of that, is essentially a level funded budget, and so that's adding a burden to the presidents, and I'm distressed by that.
Yeah, our studios are here on Main Street, and that's why occasionally when we have a studio taping, you can hear a police car going by, or a fire truck, or someone honking their horn. And the Main Street is something I want to talk about. It's something I talked about with Councilor Pope. Are you really excited to see things like there was an antique car show back in June, and you see how many people came around, and then of course you have the Labor Day parade, which always brings out a huge crowd. Does it really warm your heart, I guess I'll say, to see rejuvenation here on Main Street?
I think even a better example is the recent Taste of Marlboro we had here a couple weeks back. Right. It was the second year in a row it was raining out, and the council had actually passed a motion to allow sidewalk seating for the first time ever, as far as I'm aware. And we unfortunately wasn't really able to take advantage of it because people don't want to sit in chairs in the middle of the rainstorm. Right. But we had a lot of folks still come down and enjoy the Taste of Marlboro, and I think that really highlights a lot of the assets that we have here in the city of Marlboro. I mean, just here in the old fire station, there's a very good seafood place across the street. There's a very good Chinese place. There's a very good Italian place, all within, you could throw a rock at them, essentially, from our studio here. So, and that's just this one section of the city, the Main Street. From that whole, mile stretch, we have, 20, 30 restaurants that folks can partake in. A Thai place, sandwich shops, pizza places galore. So it's a really opportunity to highlight that. The Labor Day parade, as I'm sure many viewers are aware, is something that I've always felt that the city is, in terms of funding, should be moving away from and pushing that more into a private sector enterprise and having the city cover the public safety and cleanup aspect of it. But as someone who's always marched in the parade and has paid to do so, helping us pay for the cost of the parade, I'm very happy to see a lot of residents come up, and I think more importantly, that actually brings people into the city. Right. My analysis of the parade has actually shown a large percentage of the people who come in are from outside the city, so that's really the economic benefit of it, is bringing folks into the city and into downtown, and that does warm my heart, and I think seeing things like the Antique Roadshow or Car Show are going to help that, and we should be highlighting that.
And as far as parade funding goes, too, Councilor Pope is working, trying to get those parade banners sold, so that that the parade can be funded that way as well.
Something everyone at home should buy.
That's right.
Get a banner.
That's right.
It'll be up for I forget it's 13 or 14 weeks of advertising, and it's a skirt around the side ordinance. So it's going to be something I think people can take advantage of, and actually really is a great value option for local businesses. Right.
But as much as we want to see more revitalization on Main Street, if you look at other towns that are similar to Marlboro in age and what they used to be, this being a shoe town originally, they've almost completely shut down. Some Main Streets are never going to be back the way they were, but Marlboro isn't there. Marlboro doesn't really have that concern at this point.
I think that's really a testament to the city, and also, geography plays into things a little better. We have a more vibrant downtown because we have more traffic flow through the downtown than a lot of communities. And even with the bypass that they built, 20 years ago for Granger Boulevard, you still have a large amount of traffic and flowing down. In fact, I had one person suggest to me one time that we should make Main Street a one-way, so that people could park diagonally up one side, and they said, no, we want both-way traffic. That's the solution we want, and so even discussion about pedestrian parks and things like that, I think people really say no, it's a destination location. Again, the eateries, banks, all sorts of things that you don't think about as being great pedestrian parks, but Main Street is really a destination location for a lot of people.
Right. I want to switch gears a little bit here. We have the election season coming up. You have already pulled papers to rerun in Ward 2. How do you feel about the election season? I mean, do you look forward to having an opponent to keep you a little, fresh on what needs to be done?
No, I really enjoy running for office. And you really have to be on the council because
Right.
you do get a lot of you get a lot of positive feedback, but you also get sometimes a lot of negative feedback. But I always try every time election comes around, I go back and I look at my campaign literature from previous years to make sure that I'm doing all the things I promised I was going to do on the council. And I'm very proud to say that at virtually every one I have accomplished a lot of things. So. I'm in the phase of my council career where I'm trying to think ahead of not things I wanted to fix when I started, but now thinking about what I want to do in the future. And I look forward to having that discussion and running on a record that I think I'm very proud of as a councilor and a ward councilor. It's a little different from being an at-large councilor in that I get to see the things I've done in my ward
Right.
and really be the person who's attentive to that area and the person that residents call for help. And I've always been. I've noticed, just as a social scientist level, that residents who are about 50 years of age and older call their counselors and just expect things to be done. And I need this fixed and take care of it for me, and I'm happy to do that. But residents from that age younger often call and say something along the lines of, someone told me I should call my counselor. And I said, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. So they're often, this is the greatest thing ever. I actually called an elected official and something got done. And that's always very satisfying because I think there's a strange dichotomy that we look at like federal elections and the president of the United States or something like that, and we think, he's going to fix something. And they don't look at the local level. And we're the ones who are closest to you. We're the ones who can fill the potholes and really help out in the community. And I enjoy doing that, and hopefully the voters of Ward 2 will give me another 2 years to do that.
Well, last question before we close out here. Was it a learning experience for you the first time you went out on the campaign trail? Because fact of the matter is, you could be the world's most perfect person, but you have to have a thick skin because your opponent naturally is going to take any and every shot they can at you.
It is, running for public office, it's a very difficult thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize what really a burden it is to run for office. I mean, I know one of my colleagues had said it's literally a second full-time job for less than part-time job salary. And, that's not including, having to ask your friends and family to come out and hold signs and stuff envelopes and ask them for donations to fund your campaign. I mean, those little lawn signs you see on the lawns, those things are like $5 each. so when people steal those, it's like, come on, they're like $5, So it's, I gotta buy 300 of those.
Yeah.
So it's really, I've always been, people who run for office first time are often saying, wow, I don't know how you guys do this every 2 years. And because it is a hard thing. It is, it's people, we work very hard in the council, try to do things we believe in and try to get what's best for the city of Marlborough. And that's always open to criticism and, that's just part of the territory. But it's
But the thick skin needs to be there.
It needs to be there. You need to be able to take an occasional hit. And it's hard for some people. It really is. It's hard for... my grandmother always says, why are they saying such mean things about you in the paper? and I say, well, that's just, the paper. So you should, cancel your subscription to them and never read them again, as should everyone. But, that's just part of the territory is getting the people who can throw the bombs and say, Paul Ferro is wrong, but just trying to show people what you're trying to do and trying to accomplish.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
Thank you very much. You've been watching Council Agenda here on WMCT-TV. I'm Dan Ginden. We'll see you next time.